We've got breaking news out of Buffalo. One of the biggest moves this offseason just went down. The Bills have restructured the contract of left tackle Deion Dawkins, a decision that frees up close to $8 million in cap space as the 2025 season approaches. Now, what does this mean for Brandon Beane's front office? Are the Bills gearing up for another move, or is this simply about staying just under the salary cap line? Either way, it's a crucial shift that could shape how this roster looks when September rolls around. Before we dive deeper into the numbers and what they mean for Buffalo's future, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the latest Bills updates. Alright, let's get into it. Here's the bottom line. The Bills were operating all offseason above the salary cap, mainly due to extensions for players like James Cook, Greg Rousseau, Christian Benford, and Terrell Bernard. This restructuring drops Buffalo to about $1.5 million under the cap, better, but still razor thin. Remember, teams usually need around $4 million just for in-season adjustments like practice squad call-ups, injury replacements, and mid-season signings. That means this move with Dawkins is only the beginning. Buffalo still has work to do if they want the flexibility to chase free agents or handle emergencies once the season begins. And while Dawkins deserves credit for agreeing to a team-friendly restructure, it's clear more adjustments are coming. Over the last 3 seasons, Deion Dawkins has proven himself to be more than reliable. He's been one of the most consistent left tackles in the league. While he may not quite be at the level of a first-team All-Pro, his performance has been steady and strong, earning him multiple Pro Bowl nods. His pass protection, graded in the 80s by Pro Football Focus, puts him in the upper tier of NFL linemen. That kind of stability is exactly what every team dreams of on the blind side. Now, Dawkins isn't necessarily dominant in the run game, but he's far from a liability. He's solid across the board, and his true value lies in one critical responsibility: keeping Josh Allen upright. Protecting number 17 is arguably the most important job on this roster, and that's why Dawkins deserves to be considered one of the most valuable players in Buffalo. By agreeing to restructure his deal, Dawkins is showing both loyalty and vision. He's sacrificing some flexibility in his salary structure while still receiving the guarantees he's earned. In return, the team gains much-needed breathing room under the cap. Moves like this demonstrate exactly why he's so respected in Buffalo's locker room. He understands that every dollar counts when it comes to keeping the Bills competitive. Still, the job isn't done. Even after this adjustment, the Bills remain tight against the salary cap. General Manager Brandon Beane will almost certainly need to explore additional restructures or roster moves. To function smoothly throughout the season, especially with injuries and practice squad elevations, Buffalo has to find a way to create another $4 to $6 million in space. That reality makes Dawkins' decision even more valuable because it sets the tone for others to follow. So where could the Bills turn next? One of the clearest options is tight end Dawson Knox. A simple restructure of his contract could free up more than $6 million in space, pushing Buffalo's flexibility closer to a manageable level. Knox has been a steady presence on this roster, and given his commitment to the team, a move like this feels realistic. If it happens, the Bills would suddenly find themselves with over $7 million in breathing room, enough to handle practice squad elevations, injury replacements, and perhaps even a late addition in free agency if the right opportunity presents itself. Another possibility is defensive tackle Daquan Jones. A restructure there could create nearly $5 million in savings. The challenge, though, is that Jones is approaching free agency after this season, and players in that position often prefer to keep contracts clean rather than stretching money into future years. Because of that, his situation looks less certain than Knox's. Then there's wide receiver Curtis Samuel. While he's on the roster now, his long-term future in Buffalo remains unclear. Restructuring his deal would spread money down the line, but the Bills may hesitate to commit to a player who could be elsewhere after this season. It makes far more sense for Buffalo to focus on restructuring core pieces like Dawkins or Knox, players who are expected to be part of the foundation for years to come. At the end of the day, the Dawkins move was a necessary first step. But to give themselves enough room to operate comfortably throughout the 2025 campaign, the Bills will likely need at least one more significant adjustment. Whether that comes from Knox, Jones, or another veteran remains to be seen, but the message is clear. Buffalo isn't done reshaping the books just yet. The challenge with restructuring contracts is that it often means pushing money into future seasons, and that's not always the smartest move, especially with players like Daquan Jones and Curtis Samuel, whose long-term roles in Buffalo remain uncertain. Committing future dollars to players who might not be part of the core beyond this season is a risk Brandon Beane may want to avoid. Another option, though, is extending Connor McGovern. That kind of move could save the Bills over $4 million in immediate cap space. McGovern has quietly become one of the most dependable interior linemen on the roster, giving Buffalo stability at center and helping to anchor one of the most cohesive offensive line units in the NFL. An in-season extension here would not only provide cap relief, but also secure an important piece of the offensive front for years to come. When weighing the options, the Bills really have to ask themselves, where is the long-term value? Restructuring a cornerstone player like Dawson Knox makes sense because he's viewed as part of Buffalo's future. Doing the same for McGovern could also be smart, as it strengthens a unit that protects Josh Allen every single snap. But with players on expiring deals like Jones or Samuel, the team may prefer to keep financial flexibility rather than stretch their money down the road. These decisions aren't just about 2025, they're about building a sustainable roster around Josh Allen for the years to come. Each move has to balance short-term relief with long-term stability, and that's the tightrope Buffalo's front office is walking right now. With the roster still settling, the focus now shifts to Week 1 preparations and the latest around the Baltimore Ravens injury report, a key storyline heading into Buffalo's season opener. For Baltimore, there are a few names worth monitoring. Jay Alexander, one of their new additions in the secondary, was limited in practice with a knee issue. Early signs suggest this is more precautionary than serious, and he's still expected to be available for the opener. Daniel Fallell, listed with an illness, was also limited, but that doesn't appear likely to affect his Week 1 status either. The bigger concern for the Ravens lies with tight end Isaiah Likely. He's been sidelined since late July with a lingering foot injury and has not practiced since training camp opened. All indications from John Harbaugh's staff point to him being unavailable for the first game. On the flip side, Ravens star Mark Andrews looks ready to go, having returned from his own setback earlier in the preseason. One new name to watch is Patrick Ricard, who landed on the report with a calf injury. He didn't practice, and his availability for the opener is now in question. Ravens fans know Ricard's importance, just as Bills fans recognize the value of Reggie Gilliam in Buffalo. Both are versatile players who make an impact on offense and special teams, and losing Ricard could significantly alter Baltimore's game plan. All of this sets the stage for a fascinating Week 1 showdown. Buffalo enters the matchup having cleaned up its own cap situation and roster decisions, while Baltimore is still piecing together key positions due to injuries. The opener isn't just about talent. It may come down to which team handles these early hurdles with more resilience. On the Buffalo side, the injury report carries a few storylines that could shape how the opener plays out. The most notable name is kicker Tyler Bass, who was listed as a limited participant with hip and groin issues. The team recently brought in kickers for workouts as insurance, but the expectation is that Bass will be ready to go in Week 1. His performance in the preseason finale suggested he's healthy enough to handle kicking duties, though his status is worth keeping an eye on. Meanwhile, rookie defensive tackle Dwayne Carter has already been ruled out long-term. After tearing his Achilles, the Bills simply haven't processed the IR designation yet, but Sean McDermott confirmed he won't play this season. On the brighter side, Offensive lineman David Quessenberry returned as a full participant after missing time with an ankle issue. He should be ready to log a full workload in Week 1. Where things get more concerning is with the skill positions. First-round pick Keon Coleman was limited in practice due to a groin injury. Combined with lingering questions around Khalil Shakir, the wide receiver depth could be thinner than Buffalo hoped heading into the opener. Defensively, Christian Benford also appeared on the report with a groin issue. While he did practice on a limited basis, McDermott offered no guarantees about his availability. And then there's Tre'Davious White. Listed as a non-participant, his status remains uncertain. McDermott didn't rule him out completely, but anytime a starting cornerback's Week 1 availability is in doubt, it raises eyebrows. For a team preparing to face Lamar Jackson and Baltimore's new look offense, the health of Buffalo's secondary will be a critical storyline. The official word on Christian Benford is that his setback is being classified as a groin injury, not a recurrence of the lower body issues he's dealt with in the past. That's at least encouraging, but the Bills are clearly being cautious. Whether it's precautionary rest or something more, his availability for Week 1 remains in question. And that uncertainty leads to a bigger issue: the state of Buffalo's secondary. Injuries have piled up, and depth is becoming a real concern. Tre'Davious White's status is unclear, Benford is limited, and first-rounder Max Melton is already on injured reserve for the first 4 weeks of the year. Add in past durability questions around safeties like Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp, and suddenly the defensive backfield feels like the most vulnerable position group on the roster. That opens the door to a possible outside addition. One name that makes sense is a familiar face: Stefon Gilmore. The former Bills' first-round pick is now 34, and while he may not have the same top-end speed he once did, his production has remained impressive deep into his career. Over the past 3 seasons, Gilmore has consistently delivered with double-digit pass breakups and multiple interceptions each year. Gilmore wouldn't be asked to play every snap in Buffalo, but on a short-term deal, his experience and instincts could provide stability to a group riddled with question marks. He knows what it means to play in Buffalo. He's proven he can still contribute, and at this stage, adding a veteran like him could be the insurance policy the Bills desperately need. The idea of bringing back Stefon Gilmore might raise some eyebrows, but it wouldn't be unprecedented. Buffalo has a history of leaning on veteran defensive backs, and if Tre'Davious White isn't ready for Week 1, the need becomes even more pressing. Gilmore may no longer be in his prime, yet his experience and ball production make him a realistic option. Another name that deserves attention is Justin Simmons. The former Broncos safety has long been regarded as one of the best deep defenders in football. At 31, he's lost a bit of his range, and his run defense isn't a strong suit, but his instincts and playmaking ability remain. At 2-time All-Pro, Simmons would immediately raise the floor of Buffalo's secondary. The challenge with Simmons, of course, is cost. He'd command significantly more money than a depth option like Damar Hamlin, and he has made it clear he still wants to start. That said, if the Bills suffer an injury at safety, relying on Hamlin to play the majority of snaps would be risky. Simmons, even at this stage of his career, represents a major upgrade. When you put it all together, Buffalo's front office has tough decisions to make. Do they lean on the current roster, trusting young players to step up despite the injury questions? Or do they dip into the veteran market and add proven talent like Gilmore or Simmons? One path saves money for the future. The other brings immediate security for a team chasing a championship window right now. Either way, the next few days and weeks will be telling. The Bills know their margin for error in the AFC is razor thin. Moves made now, whether restructures, extensions, or veteran signings, could be the difference between surviving early adversity or letting opportunity slip away.